Hi, everybody. I am PoopWitchX or PWX or Haley, and I am so excited to introduce Jeremy Robbins, the Executive Director of the American Immigration Council. Thanks so much for joining us, Jeremy. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you, Haley. I am beyond thrilled. This is the most fun event of my week so far.
I'm so excited. So before we get going, what are your pronouns?
He and him.
Okay, great. And I'm she, her. Okay, so the Poop Coven, as you know, we were just kind of discussing, you watched a little bit about Monday and you could kind of see what we're about. We are so curious about your story, how you started in the charity space, and then how you made your way into the Immigration Council.
I love it. And I will say, listening on Monday, I couldn't stop giggling because I thought it was hysterical. But also, it was so moving because it was such an inclusive and supportive and positive community of people who actually want to do things. And I think in this moment when people feel so depressed and they feel listening to something that is so inherently positive and action oriented, it was wonderful.
So thank you so much for saying that. It is. I'm biased, obviously, but I feel like the reason why we were able to do this charity because there is and we'll get into this, there is a political sort of, it's unfortunate. It shouldn't be the case. We will definitely discuss that. But, it can be nerve wracking when you're in a public forum discussing these type of things that could be very controversial, which again, they shouldn't be. But, I'm just so grateful as well that the Poop Coven are like all on board and ready to do this. And they've been so excited to hear about your experience and what the Immigration Council is all about and everything. So, yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, so, you said it really well on Monday, which is that they shouldn't be political, right? This is a human story and these are people. And so I guess for me, I came to this issue really in my own family story. My grandmother was born in a small town in Ukraine that basically doesn't exist anymore because of pogroms. She was Jewish and they had to flee and they left and they left for safety, and then they kept walking to make a better life, and they didn't come with education. They came with nothing. And she looks a lot like all the people who are coming to our southern border and fleeing from around the world. And so she got here just with nothing, didn't graduate college until she was in her 50s, was raising 3 kids as a single mom, and all 3 kids went and got graduate degrees. And so like America was this just lifeline for our family. And I like to think that also our family was hopefully good for America, like having people who want to work hard, who want to make a better life, who like no one loves freedom more than the person who has seen something else. And I grew up in New York City.
I'm from New York too.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
And it is in every way, like you eat, you breathe the diversity of this life, and hearing multiple languages everywhere you go, and being exposed to all these different religions and cultures and foods. And and it just was like New York doesn't survive without immigration, right? They're 48% of business. Yeah, and 48% of businesses in New York are owned by immigrants, right? It's just an staggering number. We get 100 million tourists a year, and they're coming because it's like the most vibrant, exciting place in the world. And so I got the opportunity. I was a lawyer and I had done some work in human rights and in prisons, and I got the opportunity to go work for the mayor of New York in City Hall when Mike Bloomberg was mayor, and he was thinking about all these things, like how do you help on a national scale, like how do you take some of New York's successes, and immigration was the big one, and he wanted to start a coalition around immigrants, but basically telling the story that like right now it's such a political crazy debate where people are screaming at each other on both sides. But if you look at the community level, it's not controversial at all. Like we want to have welcoming and we want belonging. We want communities where people come and thrive.
Yes.
And so we got to build this whole organization that was a think tank and a sort of organizing arm called New American Economy. And then 5 years ago, during the first Trump administration, when really we were thinking about how do you have the impact you want to have, we tried to think bigger and ended up, after a long process, merging with the American Immigration Council, which had been founded almost 40 years ago now, by all the immigration lawyers in the country who said, look, like immigration is the best thing that ever happened to America, right? The fact that people, when they vote with their feet, want to come here is so great. And so they founded this organization to be this hub of like organizing and policy and advocacy and research to try and tell this story and really help immigrants and refugees and fix our broken system, and then make our communities into the poop coven, right? Into the places that where everyone's welcome and
I love
they
that.
are reaffirming.
Yes.
And I'll say just the last thing is that on Monday, as I was listening to the Monday's broadcast, and you were
Yes.
reading the chat, what people were saying about,
Yeah.
and it just like
It's
that's why I do
impactful.
this work, right? And it's just it's
You're gonna
amazing
make me
and
cry. I'm
inspiring.
sorry. I'm such a baby. I cry so easily. Oh my gosh. I can already feel when the poop coven watches later. They're gonna be like, she's gonna cry. She's gonna cry. I love. First of all, I love your passion that it comes from your own family experiences and wanting that American dream that you hear, a lot of Americans take for granted. And you hear it often with immigrants who come here and they're like, I want the American dream. And it's such a powerful way to begin your journey that you saw it, and you saw not only, your grandmother escape, a horrible situation, come here, create roots, and then make a family that is contributing so immensely to that American dream. It's so commendable and it's so incredible. And I love that you were also a lawyer, which I feel like going into that is very would you say that's one of the foundational roots of the American Immigration Council, that it's lawyers and legislation driven? Is that like part of the sort of, I know there's 4 major
Yeah.
parts, but is that one of the major ones?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the lawyers got together and said, look, there's sort of a few things that happen that they can see that are really unique.
Yeah.
One, as lawyers, they sort of know what's wrong with the system and they know how to fix it. So systemically, they have this like really deep knowledge. But emotionally, like their clients are the immigrants who have compelling stories, or they're the companies that have political power and who care about this. And so like if you know how to fix the system and you have the stories that can change hearts and minds and the political power, and unlike most groups are sort of, they're based in DC if they're advocacy groups, or but the lawyers are in every community in the country. So no matter where you need to be, and so that was an asset, saying, look, like with those 3 things together, we're in the places that matter. We have the compelling stories and the political power that matters, and we have like the actual technical expertise to fix it. Like we need to leverage that. Like that needs to be a thing. And it's been, I mean, the last, it's now 39 years, have just been unbelievable. I mean, just think like this last week, we had a huge win to stop the Trump administration from basically ending all appeals for immigrants who are caught up in this system. And we had these two men who we do a lot of direct representation and pro bono work with volunteers. And I hope some of the Poop Coven will volunteer if they speak multiple languages.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, that was one of my questions. Oh, for sure. People want to know how they can help. So that's incredible. So continue.
So we'll definitely talk about that. There's so many. And so like we had 2 clients. I mean, this will make you cry. Like we had 2 clients. They're a gay couple. They're from Iran, and they fled Iran because they were arrested by the morality police, because you get tortured for being gay in Iran, and this is even before the war.
Right.
They came here. They didn't have a lawyer, and their Trump administration was trying to deport them. We got a pro bono volunteer to represent them. One of them got to stay right away, but they're still trying to deport the other one, put him on a plane back to Iran, even though he's going to get tortured, even though we're about to go to war. Now we're in war. And I mean, the whole story was absolutely nuts. Like one of the planes was leaving and we're worried he was going to be on it. But then there was a measles outbreak in the detention center.
Oh my God.
And it gave us a few more days, which sounds like crazy. But then in those few more days, our lawyers were able to go and win and save and get a stay. And so these people are not going to be deported. And it's like, that's the kind of work where it does. I mean, you see that every day. And as much as like this is a very depressing time.
Yeah.
There's so much optimism to know that like you can fight and you can win and you can change someone's life. And so
oh my God,
I hope the Poop Coven gets involved.
This is so amazing to hear, because I think you really hit the nail on the head. There is so much vitriol, hostility, division right now, where people really have forgotten that we're all humans and that we all deserve human rights, human decency, human compassion, and empathy. It should be a basic standard. And what you just said is there's terrible things going on, but there are such beautiful stories that are being, I don't want to say there are stories that are being saved, but you are saving them. You're saving these stories from being these nightmarish endings that are gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, and people's lives being potentially over, and you are stopping that and changing that narrative, which is so powerful and so important. And really talking about the political climate, how has what's been going on. Is there anything, I mean, the story you just shared is incredible, but anything other than what you shared legislatively, or things people should be aware of or doing that, especially with these trying times, we should be focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there has been the president, when he won, he ran on a platform to deport every single undocumented immigrant in this country, right? To have the biggest mass deportation, and he went to Congress, and at first, what he was promising seemed completely infeasible because it would require so much money. It would be ridiculous.
Insane, yeah.
But then they went to Congress and they got the money. And so now, when you think about what we're seeing in this country, it's staggering to think about the level. So if you think about immigration enforcement, right, the ICE agents and the border patrol that are roaming bands in the streets, the masked men who aren't identifying themselves, the immigration enforcement agencies now have a budget that is bigger than every federal law enforcement agency. So think the CIA, the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, all of those combined.
Oh my
that
God.
we are building prisons for nannies and landscapers and people at rates that are unfathomable, that our immigration detention is going to have a budget on par with the entire federal penal system. And you think about who we're detaining. The number.
It's just
ahead,
people. No, and I really want to drive home what you just said. They are. I feel like, sometimes things get lost in the translation. You just said something that that really like hits home for me, and I think it will resonate, is that these are landscapers and nannies and people that are not criminals. They are people who give back to their communities in really important, critical roles. And what's happening is horrific. And I wanted to ask, in the 39, you said, years that American Immigration Council have you ever seen anything quite like this before, to this scale?
No, I don't think our country has ever seen anything quite like this. I mean, I think we saw at some level in the first Trump administration, there were plans along some of these lines. But what they're doing now, and I think they used the 4 years during the Biden years to basically figure out at every level, how do you get rid of due process? And it's not just impacting immigrants, right? I mean, there have been like 170 or more U.S. citizens who have been arrested, right? That if you think about it, every step of the process, how there's just been an erosion. So if you start with sort of people coming into your communities and what they're allowed to do, right? So the law says you can stop someone and ask them about their citizenship. You can't arrest them, but you can ask them about their citizenship. So the Trump administration said, all right, well, what if we, just to make sure we verify it, we're gonna handcuff you and take you somewhere else? Well, that's an arrest, right? And they're stopping people who look like they could be an immigrant, whatever that means, but it probably means someone who has brown skin or speaks with an accent. And then they're in theory, you used to before times, like if ICE was going into a community, they would get a warrant and go in. But what they're doing now is they're just like stopping whoever they want, and they'll have a supervisor in the field, and they'll write the warrant as you're there after they've stopped you. And you have a right to walk away. But if you walk away, then they're saying, well, then we don't need a warrant because we have probable cause because you're fleeing. And at every step, there's sort of a stretch of the law or a violation of the law. And I mean, masked men are kidnapping people off the street and secreting them to gulags in El Salvador. I mean, it is a crazy, even people who know where they've done it by mistake, right? I mean, it's a very scary reality. And what you saw in Minnesota was not just the violence against the immigrants who were there. They were scanning the crowd with facial recognition technology to see who was showing up to watch. And so, like, that's just a different order of magnitude that we've never seen in our country, right? And I think that is really scary. And so I think one of the things I'm proud of at work is that we go in every day to figure out, like, whether it's getting lawyers to the immigrants who are caught up in it, whether it's big impact lawsuits to stop the policies, whether it's just educating the public so they don't look away. We're now getting millions of Americans who are coming to understand, like, what is birthright citizenship that the Supreme Court's about to decide about, and who is actually getting detained,
right?
And what is ICE allowed to do, and what are they not allowed to do?
And with all that said, it feels like there is a constant erosion of what that American dream was, also what the Constitution stands for, what people's rights are. And like you said, it might look like they're, targeting immigrants, but this is a much more nuanced and complicated thing, because if the lines keep getting eroded, where do the lines start and where do they stop? And all of a sudden, if you just disagree with this, sorry, I only have bad words, with this political line, if you disagree with this, then where are you now, infringing? Are you wet? And then we get into that fascism word and that,
Yeah, look, I mean, fundamentally, we want safe communities.
Yes.
We need to have safe communities, and we have laws, and we want laws like that is, I think, to some degree what the president ran on, and I think that's something all Americans agree with. Like, we want safe communities.
Yes.
But if you look at Minnesota, does that look like it's safe and orderly? No, it looks like it's chaos, and it's scary, and you're having people murdered on the street. And so I do think like we need to figure out a better way forward. And and that's something we're working on every day. And that means not just fighting in the resistance. It also means like reaching out to people who are different than you and being able to talk across the aisles and understand, like, working in the hardest parts of the countries, in the most conservative parts of the country, in the places where immigrants are just arriving and it seems really scary, to help communities figure out like what is the way forward. How do we make sure that we don't have these siloed, separated communities, but that the community is all of us.
Right. And those would be your current goals of things that you as a foundation are working towards every day, and you're implementing them through sending lawyers to people and talking to local government and federal government and creating new legislative. What would be the hopes? Because we still have so much more of this administration. We're still in the early stages of this. What are the hopes and the future goals?
Yeah, so I'll start locally, and I'll zone out.
That'd be great.
So the hope is, like, let's say you're an immigrant and you arrive in Salt Lake City, Utah, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, that you show up and there's real support for you in the community to help you learn English, get a job, get your kids enrolled in school, get legal status, all the things, but also like get on community boards so you know people who are civically engaged, you know people who are different. In those communities and dozens of others, there are now plans in place because we work with the mayor and we've worked with the nonprofits. We've worked with the business community to write an actual plan. Like, what are the 50 things you need to do to make immigrants successful in Tulsa or Salt Lake City or Des Moines or any of the other places? So I think that is locally. Like, how do you make immigrants and local communities thrive?
Right.
There's also, like, when people are in need of, they need a lawyer, how do you get them the lawyer? And so I think we focus a lot on that. Zooming out, there's sort of the how do you fix this system? And that means both. When things are happening, they're trying to separate kids. They're trying to throw kids in jail. They're trying to make it so you're never going to get an appeal. They're trying to close the border. We need to stop that. And so we're bringing lawsuits. But it also means having a real vision for what the system should look like. So not just saying, no, this is bad, but affirmatively saying, like, here's what it would mean to enforce the laws. And so we're working on those kind of things. And then the third bucket, which I think will resonate a lot with the Poop Coven, is really investing in belonging. Yeah. How do you, and not just in like a loose, touchy-feely sense, but in a really practical way. If you want to like create belonging, what would it look like? And so we have a whole center on inclusion and belonging, which does all these experiments where people gather. So whether it's in sports leagues or churches or community gardens, how do you create inclusive spaces? And then how do you measure it? How do you know when it's successful? And so we're investing a lot in that right now.
I think that all three of those things are so fundamentally important. And I think the last one, feels like something the regular everyday person can be a part of and can help facilitate. So we kind of mentioned this earlier on. If people in the Poop Coven or anybody who's going to watch this, because it's also going on YouTube, what can they do? You already said joining communities and being a part. Is there any way they can help the American Immigration Council? Is there any way that they can be really, really boots on the ground for people like you? Yeah.
100%. And I hope they do. So first, it's like, if you speak more than one language, you can volunteer to be an interpreter and help directly represent someone who's being put in detention through our immigration justice campaign. We'll train you up. We'll help place you
Wow.
in with cases. That's amazing.
Wow.
Or if you happen to be a lawyer, you can be a lawyer. But even just speaking another language, we need a lot of that.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, so if you go to our website on immigration justice campaign, there's that. You can take action, and I can even send you a link so you can put
Please.
it. Where like we always have a take action page of like, here's how you can contact your legislator directly on these issues, and here's a campaign, and so we always have that sort of signing up for our list. So like when things are moving. And it was, I mean, the first Trump administration, when they were trying to change sorry, in the Biden administration, when they're trying to change the asylum law to make it the asylum harder to get, we could partner with a group called ASAP, which is a tremendous group called the Asylum Seekers Advocacy Project. And together we could get 40% of the comments in the country, and comments matter. Every time you write a legislator, every time you file a comment, like they have to respond to it and they see it. And that's how they measure where the public is. And so those are hugely important. In terms of getting boots on the ground in your community, we have just put out something which I think is just an amazing product. We spent a couple of years on it. That's called the Belonging Handbook, which is literally like a step-by-step guide how you can get together with your community members, whether it's in a bunch of different ways. It could be with your YMCA, it could be with your church, it could be, and here's how you could actually create more volume. Here are the programs you could do. Here's how you would measure success. Here's what other communities have done you can learn from. And so you can download the Belonging Handbook and learn from that.
Wow.
But there are so many ways. And then, of course, like what you're doing, which is like, I will say, it is, as I look at this moment and I look at my friends in my community who aren't politically engaged, they are so disheartened and they don't know what to do and they feel helpless.
Yes.
And so that's why when I was listening to Monday Night, and you have this community of people who are just like, all right, we're going to take action.
Yeah.
And they're raising money. I mean, money matters. I mean, and whether it's for us, which I'm like so deeply touched that you are raising money for this work, but for your local groups, like local immigration groups are going belly up. National groups are going belly up because people are so afraid they're not funding, and some of the traditional funding schemes have dried up. And so having people who are willing to say like, I'm going to give $5, I'm going to, whatever it is, like, it matters hugely. And so again, I just can't reiterate how grateful I am to you and this whole community.
Thank you. I was one of those people who felt helpless. I felt like I was watching with horror as I'm sort of watching. It feels like history repeating itself, history doing injustices to people. And you do feel like, if, how can I help? Especially, we're in New York, like how do we help things that feel farther removed? And I always say, like, when we do charity, it feels like one way of giving back. But I think what's really unique about your charity is that sometimes when we raise for other charities, there's not volunteer work that you can do like right now. And I love that you're like, there are options for you right this second if you want to be a part of it. So I think that's really powerful and impactful, because it does feel hopeless and bleak for a lot of people who are watching the news with like utter horror. And we actually have two of our mods, which are like the sort of the police people of our communities, who are from Minnesota. So it's,
oh my gosh, yeah.
So it's very, very near and dear to our hearts. And so I want to also know, with the American Immigration Council, do you help nationally? Like, there's not a specific area, it's the whole nation.
Right. So we work nationally through our partnership with the immigration lawyers of the country. Like we're in every community that they're in. Our state and local work, we're now in about 100 communities, and we advise 24 governors.
Wow.
And so so the governors is 24 states, and then with the other ones, it's about 40 states that we're in. Okay. The biggest portion of this is we run a program called Gateways for Growth, which is a lovely program we do with a group called Welcoming America, which is another fabulous organization, where we go to a community and say, look, if you want to help immigrants succeed when they get here, we'll show you how. We'll give you some research so you can figure out who's in your community, how do you talk about it, how do you reach them, and then we will show you how to write one of these plans.
Wow.
And so we've had more than 80 communities participate in that over the last 10 years, and they're almost all in these new immigrant gateways, mostly in conservative states, where and they'll end up, and you'll have all of a sudden someone in City Hall who is now, their full-time job is making sure that immigrants have access to city services and things are translated in multiple languages. And those have been fabulous. It's really fun to now, when you travel the country to a lot of these communities, there's like, I mean, when Afghanistan fell,
Mm.
there was a really cool local news story in Kentucky where a bunch of Kentucky business leaders went on the local news, and they're like, send Afghans here. And they held up the plan we'd written with them. They're like, we know exactly how to help them.
Oh, wow.
And that's the dream, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not coming as a national group and like telling communities what to do. It's finding local leaders who are passionate and being like, all right, we'll show you what you can do, but this is you. You're leading. And like, we're a small group, all things considered. So
Yeah.
like, at best, like, we're going to show people, give support, but people are leading, and it's really amazing in places you would never expect.
No,
Um,
that's so wonderful to hear. I think, just to let you know, I mean, like, you're giving me so much hope, and I feel really, really grateful for that, because you said earlier, that we are at war. It might not be, I don't know if that's the appropriate word, because it still feels like, but it is. And so I feel like a lot of people want to hear, if it's okay for me to ask this, what are your outlook on things? How do you feel? Do you feel like we can turn the tide, we can make a difference? And I know that we can, but it would just be so nice to hear.
yeah, I mean, I have two young kids, and
Yeah.
so I am always an optimist, and I
Yeah.
look at them, and I'm so inspired. But honestly, I think life is not linear,
Yeah.
right? It's not like we're going one way or the other.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it takes some crisis to get people to reinvest. And watching Minnesota, honestly, like, as horrible as it was, it was also like tremendously inspiring to see people coming
Stand
out in
up.
the face of some real danger
Yeah.
and being like, no, like, we are standing up for this. We are gonna videotape this. We are gonna show it, and we're gonna stand up for our values. And so I do, like, I mean, I look at it even just in terms of interest in this issue.
Yes.
We're having millions of people come to our website to learn about it. People want to get educated, and to me, that gives me hope.
Good.
In a way
Okay.
that when we doubled the number of visitors last year as we did the year before, and we're going to have even more this year. And it does. I mean, I just think, and things like this, truthfully, it's like, it used to be, well, young people are apathetic. It's like, this is not an apathetic community. This is we are going to talk about this. We're going to engage in it.
Yes.
Just over the past couple of weeks, there's like a group of crafters who are doing like a crafting thing. And there were some Pokemon folks who are doing a Pokemon thing. And it's like, there's so many great communities, and like, people are saying, look, like, our community is going to stand up for this together.
Yeah.
And I'd say, like, one of the things I think has been really disheartening of watching sort of the last 15 years is that like, more and more people felt isolated. You read about like the crisis of loneliness.
Yeah.
And I do think that over the last year, as hard as things have been, there has been more community than I've experienced in decades, of seeing like people find their own and lift each other up. And so
That's
I don't know.
really
I'm always an optimist, and I do think doing things. And it's funny because I was talking to my team about Monday Night Stream about why I really liked it. But honestly, like, the thing I found the most inspiring from it was how supportive the community was. And I don't know, it's amazing to see that.
Thank you. That was very helpful. You're getting me all misty. I'm really grateful for your insight and your passion for this, and I think it really, really deeply resonates, and it's very impactful. I feel like fear is a big thing right now, and almost the fear makes you feel paralysis, like you can't do anything. There's nothing to be done. So hearing not only your passion, but your enthusiasm and your optimism is so refreshing. It's like a cool glass of water on a hot day. It's just so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I want to ask you, are you okay with doing, like, we call it like a rapid fire question that's like a little bit fun and lighter to like end the podcast? Are you okay with that? It's like,
whatever you want. I want to say one thing before we get there, though, which is to say this, which is like, it is so mutual. Like, the one thing when I will say, being very disheartened about like the state of like funders and funding in this whole world, like, there's an old way of doing things and it just wasn't working. And seeing this, and again, like, you like, I'm new to Shopify and to like, it is not a world to us, but just the world feels bigger, right?
Yes.
Thinking about there are more people who are engaging, more communities who want to learn about this and know about it, and that gives me an immense optimism. And I would just say, because we are new to this,
Yeah.
um, this is an opportunity for us to learn about and to expose to something we would never have. And so, on so many levels, I'm super grateful, and this is just a tremendous opportunity for us to
Thank you so
just
much.
reach a whole new group of people.
That's so nice. I get nervous whenever we this is gonna be a little vulgar, but we call it like popping the the
But yeah,
charity's cherry. It's one of those things where it's interesting because I feel like we are definitely we throw the charity right into the deep end because what the way the Poop Coven does things is unique to say the least, but Twitch is such an incredible space that I feel like you're absolutely right. There's an old way of raising and there's an old way of doing these type of things, and it's a whole new world. And I really hope that others will see our campaign and will help you with this fight. And I really hope that if even just spreading the word about American Immigration Council, like I'll say it 1,000 times before the week's end, because it is so important. And I also feel like if other people know that it's safe to talk about these things and that we have to talk about these things, more people will feel safe to talk about them and step forward. So I think I'm so grateful for the opportunity for this partnership, and I'm so excited that they got to hear from you, because I think it just it opens up our world too to hear the passion and where it all really started and stemmed from. So speaking of getting to know you better, the rapid fire question. So the first question I usually ask is, do you have a favorite color?
Oh, as a dad of two boys, I'm trying to raise feminist boys.
Okay, nice. Oh,
Pink
thank
is
God.
my
Okay.
pink is my favorite color, and so
Yes.
that has been the
Good.
since they were born, it has become my favorite color in every way.
Love that. Do you have a lucky number?
Ooh, I don't know that I have a lucky number.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe I would say so. I would say I met my wife when I was 18, I just turned 19, and she was just about to turn 19. So
Oh,
it's either
nice.
18 or 19 probably for
Nice.
that.
I met my husband when I was 16 and he was 18, so we were a little young. But like I feel like those relationships when you meet when you're very young are like that's your soulmate. You like lock on, you're like we're in this now. So I love
We
that.
spend far more time together than apart. So it's like
Yes.
you don't even know the difference.
Exactly. Do you have a favorite food?
Yes, I am both fruit and nut obsessed, but if I had
Love.
to have a cuisine, it would probably be sushi.
All I love everything you just said. All very good options. Do you have what is your favorite fruit? Do you know, or do you like them all?
Oh, so I'm deep into the blueberries and blackberries at the moment, but that is a very expensive habit.
Yes, it
So
is.
I will say the thing that has been like completely life changing for me though is there's a Trader Joe's in my community, and
Nice.
for about 5 months a year, it carries those sumo
Oh,
oranges,
though, yes, the giant, and they're so juicy.
the
Oh my God.
giant ones. They're delicious, but like completely
Yes.
unaffordable,
Yes. Yeah.
except for at Trader Joe's in the bag. But
Yeah.
they're like liquid gold
Oh,
if you can ever get them.
nice. Okay. Do you have a favorite TV show?
That's it. So I grew up on Law and Order, which
No.
was
Okay, that makes a lot of
in the
sense.
90s was like on repeat. You could watch it like
Always.
basically for like 11 hours a day
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
And so it's not even, I don't think I've seen it in years, but it's very much still like
It's rooted in your
implanted in
core.
my brain.
Yeah. So going
Yeah.
off of that, favorite movie, is it in the same vein as Law and Order, or is it like Zootopia or something
Oh,
crazy?
that's a good question. I don't know. Probably, if you ever seen Charade, it's before my time. It's a really old movie.
No.
It's Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant,
Ooh.
and it is some of it doesn't hold up as much movies don't because
Yeah.
even though she's like brilliant, she's ditzy in this way that like probably is not the best depiction of women,
Yeah.
but it's this lovely sort of mystery story that takes
Wow.
place in Paris, and it's brilliantly, it's like
Oh.
hysterically funny and brilliantly acted, and
Oh.
it's a great old movie to see.
Well, we do movie nights in the Poop Coven, so I might have to throw that
Oh, it's
to
great.
yeah, that sounds really good. And do you have a life motto or something, words of wisdom or something that you live by that you want to impart to the Poop Coven?
Oh, that's great. I will say this. So I'm not religious in any sense, and I don't have a deep faith in my life, but I grew up Jewish, and the one part of Judaism that speaks to me is this idea that we were slaves and now we're free, and you should live your life that way, and think about the fact that even if you have it great now, you didn't always, and some people don't, and
Yeah.
And I think it's like a wonderful way to think about the world.
Oh, wow. Whoa. I feel like you just mic dropped on that. That was so beautiful. I'm incredibly grateful, Jeremy, for your time, your energy, your enthusiasm. Thank you for taking a shot on someone named PoopWitch. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm so incredibly grateful for this podcast, and we're gonna be live watching it tonight at like probably midnight. I can't wait for them to watch and to see and to hear everything you guys are doing, because it's profound. So thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you and this whole community. Honestly, it's a tremendous opportunity for us, and it is a whole new frontier. So thank you, and
Thank you.
really grateful for all of it.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right, well, Poop Coven, you're going to be watching this in just a few hours, and this was Jeremy from American Immigration Council. We will be raising money for them for the entire duration of this week, and you can, from all the amazing things, you can help too. So there is hope. So thank you so much, Jeremy, again. I'm so grateful for your time.
Oh, it's such a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.